All right, here we are, the Teachers Talking Hoops podcast. Hello to all of our new fans. I put it out there, and I got some people tuning into the show. I got a couple of requests to be on the show.
From who?
One of my former college roommates, and
Okay.
a guy I ran with in college. So a guy I ran with in college is checking us out for the first time. He wants to know if we're going to talk more about Creighton
Okay.
because he thinks that is your 2024 national champion.
Who's okay. Well, yeah, I gotta have a couple words with this guy, then we gotta get him on. I also have a request to get on the podcast.
Yeah.
One of my teammates last year who transferred,
Okay.
he's in Oregon now, but he wants to get on the podcast, so we might have to start having some guest features.
Okay. All right. I got a cold open question for you, or just a yeah. I guess a little question to open the show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Important one.
Sure.
Tell me you saw Jared McCain.
On Saturday?
Yeah.
Are you gonna be upset if I tell you I didn't see Jared McCain on Saturday?
No, because that wasn't really the question. I just had to put Jared McCain out there.
No, I didn't see Jared McCain on Saturday. So I was officiating at the New Balance Center, so
Okay.
I did not. I did not see
His,
Jared McCain, but they did.
his
They did win a close one.
Yeah, but his he couldn't miss.
Yeah, I saw his stat line. Yeah.
Um, no, my two real questions.
Hmm.
So we had the bracket reveal.
Yep.
On Saturday afternoon, I believe,
Hmm.
and we had Purdue as the number one
How ironic,
overall
right?
seed. Yeah, and then UConn, Houston, Arizona.
Hmm.
So we talked about this last podcast. As soon as Purdue is named the number one team in the country, they lose.
Yep.
What is that? I mean, like, you can't bet on Purdue to win the national championship.
I okay. So here's my thought. I guess, shocked is the right word for. I was shocked when they didn't list UConn as the number one overall seed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, UConn's been the best team in college basketball all year. They haven't lost in, I'd say, what, 13, 14 games?
Yep.
They're rolling. So I was shocked. I was also shocked. I would have labeled it Purdue. I would have labeled it UConn, Houston, Purdue, and then Arizona. But I think now there's some potential, with the reshuffling. I mean, could we see Tennessee as a one seed?
Yep.
Iowa State, if they get Duke, it's not out of the question. They're right there.
I mean, and now, so does Marquette's destruction
Yeah,
by UConn, does that,
yeah.
they were 7. Are they
Mhm.
now a 3 seed?
I know going into the weekend they were a two seed. That'll be interesting. I wonder how much the committee will penalize Marquette for that. Because if you really think, what do we have? I'd say what, one, two, 3 weekends left before conference tournament time.
Yeah.
That's really it. We're in a stretch run here. It's a race for, can you be at the top? Now, do I see UConn losing the rest of the way? I'm going to say no, but then it's going to happen this week because that just always happens on here.
Yeah.
But I don't think UConn will lose the rest of the way. Houston, Iowa State, fantastic matchup tonight. That'll be a good one. So I was shocked that UConn wasn't. But your question, am I picking Purdue as a, third weekend team? Probably not. I think they're going to get tripped up again by somebody, even though they have experience and they have a supporting cast this year. It's what you said. They get named the number one overall seed, and then they go down to an Ohio State team that, shout out to their interim coach, first
Mm-hmm.
win. But, if you're the number one team, that can't happen the day after. The committee says it was unanimous, especially, too.
Yeah.
That's not a good look for them.
My other question, which I'm trying to look up to see how valid of a question this is here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, I mean, that one's always that one or two wins always saves a team. Because
Yep. What are you looking at?
is were you as flabbergasted? Because I've been really down on them
Uh-huh.
as I was about Wisconsin being in the top 16 reveal.
It's it's tough because recently I'm not surprised because they have some losses that just shouldn't happen, and then they followed that up with the loss against Iowa. But they
But
have,
if you look at their stuff, right,
yes,
is Northwestern
yep,
not a bad win.
hmm,
Northwestern's pretty solid.
yep.
Um,
They have Virginia,
they got the Virginia and
Marquette,
Marquette.
and
That
then
Virginia Marquette, and I guess Michigan State is starting to
Michigan
play better
State.
now.
Yep, yep.
So I like. I think if you take
It's
one of those out, so either if you take one of those out, or if you include where, like at that time, Virginia was awful,
hmm. So
and
so are you
Michigan State
asking
wasn't
me?
really all that good.
Are you asking me now if Wisconsin is a top 16 team? Because my answer is no,
Well, yeah, I'm asking you:
no, no.
is Wisconsin a top 8 seed?
Ye- What were they going into the weekend? Hang on, I have
They
it
were
up.
4.
They were a 4. Are they a top 8 seed? Um, I think now they're a 6 seed. I think they're still a top 8 seed, but they're in danger of certainly falling now with all those losses. I mean, they
What
have
would it
their
take for Wisconsin to if Wisconsin lost
yep.
the last 4 out of the last 5?
Hmm.
um, and they
Which
didn't beat Illinois or Purdue. Let's say they beat, I don't know. Let's say they beat Rutgers, but they lose to Maryland, Indiana, Illinois, and Purdue. Are they
they
still in the
lost. They
tournament?
are. Wait. What do you? Oh yeah, they lost to Purdue. They lost. They
But they
didn't
have
beat.
Purdue the season, so
Oh
they
yes.
they got
Okay.
a
Okay. Sorry.
five-game
Yep.
gap.
Yep.
So if they beat Maryland, then
Hmm.
or let's say they lose to Maryland, they lose to Maryland, and then they beat Indiana, lose to Illinois, lose to Rutgers, lose to Purdue.
Hmm.
Do they make the tournament? That would be that would mean that they would have lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
So you're
six,
giving
seven,
them.
8, 9, 10, 11. They would have went 2-9 in the last 11 games.
So are you? So you're giving them 2 wins and 3 or are two
I'm just gonna give
wins,
one win. I I
1 win
I
and
don't think I
four
could give them any
losses.
more than one win.
1 win and 4 losses. So that would put
Yeah,
them at 18-11. No, that put them at 18-13. Oh, that's cutting it. I'm gonna say an 18-13 Wisconsin team. It also depends on what they do in the Big Ten tournament.
yes, yeah, that always matters.
So if they're an 18-13 team and they lose in the first round, are they a tournament team? No. But if they win 2 games in 20-13, I think you're looking at either a first 4 or something like a 12,
Yeah,
11 seed, something like
yeah,
that. But are you betting all your chips for a Wisconsin second weekend right now? No, because they look abysmal right now.
yeah.
This was a team that was ranked as high as uh, they were a top 10 team, right?
They were like third or fourth or something like
This
that. I
was
think, or no, maybe not that high, but they were definitely the top 10.
yeah, they weren't that high, but let's see. I've got it here. Um, I don't know why they don't do these rankings. Let's see. Wisconsin, before they went on that slide, they were as high as 13. So they were a top 15 team, and now they are just struggling. But again, 'tis the season. So what they have going for them is they have a 21 ranking in the net,
Yeah,
um, 6-6 in quad one, 5-3 in quad two. That's why I'm saying that they get, if that plays out where they go 1-4, and if they get 2 wins, I'd say they're in. Um, but they've got to take care of business against Indiana, Maryland, and Rutgers. because that looks better. And then the losses against Purdue and Illinois, it looks better if they're 21-11 going into the Big Ten tournament than 18-13. So
Were they really only 13th?
yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now. I even looked it up on my. I have. I was going back here in the rankings. Yeah, they're 13th. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all. That's
Doesn't
all they
feel like
were.
they're
I mean, but
high.
that's still. What is that? That's a 4 seed.
Yep.
So you got to think with all those, with all the, recent abysmal performances, and they're only down to what? They're still a 4. I mean,
Yeah.
they're definitely moving down. But I guess we'll see what happens. Get it together, though, Greg Gard.
All right. So yeah. So that was my two big things: Purdue and Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we had the bracket
Yep.
reveal. We mentioned Purdue. Tennessee is up there. No real big surprises
Yep.
besides Wisconsin. San Diego State is
Huge
not that
jump.
far out of a 3 seed right now. They were
Yep.
14th.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the team that most likely right now looks like they move up to a 2 seed would be like a Baylor. Baylor
Yep.
was 10th, and so if you have some sort of team, Marquette. If Marquette falls
Mm.
out of their 7th, then I
Yes.
could see Baylor kind of swooping in there a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's interesting. Here, I'll ask you. We had a full slate of games this weekend. What was again? I don't know how many games you watched, but I'm sure you looked at some stats. They had some things on the college game day before at halftime after the Duke game. What was your big takeaway from the weekend?
for the weekend of the week, because I don't get a chance to watch a lot of games, but let me tell you, I watched UNC lose to Syracuse.
Yeah, that was what that was big. That was a big one for the
I watch
Qs.
all North Carolina games until they go up by over 10, and I turn it off.
Then you were locked in to that one pretty late.
Oh yeah, North Carolina, like I don't know what Armando Bacot is not a good representation for the ACC, because if the league is running through him, then we're in trouble.
So I have to go off here because you brought up an interesting point. So right now Syracuse is hang on, I'm finding the record here. Syracuse, once the schedule loads, is 16-10. Now they have NC State, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, Louisville, and Clemson left. If they can win if they can win 3 games, they'd be 21-12. They'd be, what is it?
You say hi real quick.
Special feature again. Maybe a future Duke fan, Syracuse Orange fan.
So Syracuse has those teams left.
So if Syracuse goes 21-12, because they're there, but they've got some work to do. But if they go 21-12 and they win, say, 2 games in the ACC tournament, are you leaving them out at 23-12?
When is this updated?
They're net.
They're
Now they're
they're
net.
90th in the net.
Yeah,
One
which
spot
is
ahead of UMass.
yes, which is not strong. But
No,
if they can get the wins,
yes, yeah. If they take down some of those teams, and undoubtedly teams will lose, right?
yes.
So if Syracuse get a hot streak, it's not unreasonable to think that maybe they become top 75 in the net.
Yeah, and then they'll start. But that loss to Georgia Tech was kind of a killer.
Georgia Tech, it has beaten Duke,
UNC.
UNC, Syracuse, and UMass, and then lost to everybody else.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Because like you're on resume, you're like, wow, those are two great wins. Then you look at the
Yeah,
record,
yeah.
like you could
If
have that.
Georgia Tech could have even just won like I don't know, like won 14 games this year, then their UNC and Duke wins would have helped the strength of the ACC so much. I think
Yeah,
because
yeah,
then Georgia Tech wouldn't for teams like Syracuse, Georgia Tech wouldn't be a terrible, terrible loss.
yeah, yeah. It's because what the ACC right now. I mean, they're only projected four teams.
For
That's
with I think with Wake being the first team out.
yes. So right now on the bracket, I think you've only got four teams
Yeah,
that are in the conversation, and I don't think Wake will make it because just compared to, and again, I'm not saying they're not quality because they're 39 in the net, but compared to some of the other bubble teams, like how can you? It's just how can you take Wake Forest over a Seton Hall,
yeah.
or
I
how
mean,
can
I
you
I
take
think the team.
you
I think Pitt is more likely to make it than Wake.
Yes, because Pitt has been hot recently too,
Yeah, and Pitt's
and it's
17-8. I think it's
yes,
hard if I think even though it shows like a Power Five bias, I
mm-hmm.
think if you have a Power Five team with 10 losses or less, it's hard to at least not have them talked about getting in.
Yeah. I mean, we all know it depends on the quality of winning and all of that, but it's also like, because what is it? I was watching the Yale Princeton game Saturday,
Yep.
and the announcers asked Joe Lunardi, you know, theoretically, if Princeton had run through the Ivy League and gone 27-1, or sorry, 27-2 because they lost to someone like Yale, that could be an at-large spot for Princeton.
Yep.
But since that didn't happen, the Ivy League is two bid league. I mean, sorry, a one bid league. So, but
Yeah.
it's like just interesting to think like that. Like, yeah, you can have the quad one games, but if you don't win them, then you know something to be said about that too. So,
Yeah. Princeton. Princeton's 53rd in the net,
yep.
which the Nets kind of the Nets definitely influenced by I guess a little bit who you play, right? Because if you ask me right now on a
Mm-hmm.
neutral court, so Princeton's 53, St.
Mm-hmm.
John's is 51.
Yeah.
Who am I taking on a neutral court? I'm taking Princeton.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Because Princeton, I mean, what do they have?
I mean, South Carolina's only 58th in the
Yeah.
net.
I mean, Princeton's just got a bunch of wins. Like, and again, the Ivy League is a one bid league. So, but just theoretically, if you want to think about it like that. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
So speaking of St. John's,
Mm-hmm.
actually, let me go back to Armando Baycott real quick because I think
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
might have an actual interesting statistical point here.
Mm-hmm.
At least I think I do from
Okay.
from what I've been paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
So UNC, they have the record here or not. UNC is probably similar to Duke. I think they're like 20-6 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Um,
26. Yep.
so Baycott is playing really well of late. Um, but Baycott starting at that Duke game,
Yep.
Baycott has had a double double every game since the Duke game, including the Duke game. So
Okay.
one, two, three, 4, 5. 5 games in a
Mm-hmm.
row, he's had a
Okay.
double double.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, he had 3 all season.
Okay.
Uh, I don't think it's. I think it's fair to say that even that Duke game that they won pretty comfortably, but they didn't destroy Duke. I think it's safe to say that UNC in the month of February has not been nearly as good as they were in the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And part of me wonders, like, if you look at Baycott scoring,
Mm-hmm.
starting in, we'll just go January. Starting in January,
Sure.
14, 9, 16, 19, 10, 5, 5, 9. And then
Mm-hmm.
you go into the Duke game, 25, 24, 10, 14, 25.
Yep.
I mean, so I don't know if causation and fact are the same, but to me, I'd read that and say UNC's playing worse when Armando Baycott's playing better. Now, I think you can read that as Armando Baycott has to play better because everyone else is playing worse.
Yeah.
Is probably the truth behind it,
Yep.
but I do think it's interesting to say is is the team as good when Armando Baycott is dominant?
Yeah. I guess it's interesting to think about. I mean, if you think about it that way, but I also wonder, I mean, I don't know. Let's take the Syracuse game. Um, you know, e- everybody had a pretty decent game in the starting lineup. I think it's just Syracuse outscored them. That's all.
I
Ingram
mean,
had a double double. Baycott had a double double. Ryan, R.J. Davis all did their part.
UNC is 3 points away from being 3-3 in their last 6 games,
Mm-hmm.
with a loss to Georgia Tech. No,
Miami.
four, four, 3 points away from being 2-4 in the last six
Mm-hmm.
games. Lost to Georgia Tech, lost to Clemson, lost to Syracuse, and they beat
Yep.
Miami by 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know what gets me? Did you hear the Baycott quote? And Ingram said a similar thing after they beat Duke and they lost to Clemson. They were like, "Oh, we knew we were gonna lose." Like guys they were late to practice. We were late to the shoot around. Guys were like lackadaisical, and I mean that wasn't a good thing to me.
Yeah, that
If
really
you're
puts
thinking that,
confidence into
yeah,
everybody picking UNC for this March.
yeah,
You can't get it together and like this. In all reality, this is the time of year where you should have it together. You got 3 weeks left till the conference tournament. You have less than a month till March Madness. It's about this time that you should really be putting it all together. But it seems like UNC is taking a step backwards, which is a little concerning if you're someone who is putting them on the Final Four pedestal. So I think it's
yeah,
interesting. I've also never heard a Division I athlete say that ever
yeah.
about how we know we were going to lose. Like, all right,
Um, so back to the Patino thing. Um,
sure.
uh, let me look at it. I got a bunch of his quotes from the
I know he called out Chris Ledlam. He called out also he took Soriano out of the starting lineup. I know that. He said they weren't playing tough enough, and he said that it's been unenjoyable.
that's what yeah. This is the most unenjoyable experience of my life.
Yeah. Yes. Now, to all of you people who are faithful watchers, I do remember telling you at the beginning of the year that this team was not a tournament team. So I called it. I called it
Yeah.
coming. Big East was too good. They were just a team that had to put. I think he even said something about how he just had to take the guys that he he could. That like these guys weren't even his first choice. He just had to take a bunch of guys.
Now so he says our lateral quickness and our toughness is just something I've never witnessed in all my years of coaching. We're
Yes.
so unathletic.
Yes.
Is what does St. John's do in these next 5-ish games, whatever? Are they going 0-5 and because they're like, screw my coach, or is he motivating them?
I don't. I don't know. I mean, they're ninth in the Big East. They're 14-13. They're playing Georgetown, Creighton, Butler, DePaul, and Georgetown. So they're probably going 3-2,
Wait,
17 and
that
15.
Georgetown one. That first Georgetown one is at Georgetown.
Yeah, so
If
they'll
they win
probably
that
lose
game,
one of them. They'll
yeah,
probably
if they
lose
lose
one
that
of them.
first Georgetown game, I think they lose the whole rest of the season.
Like this, yeah. According to Rick Pitino, he had to just take a bunch of guys. They weren't even his first. Like, I get, I get. Okay, so I get what he was trying to do, but that was not the way to do it. Not the way to do
What
it.
did he
You
say
can.
after they lost to Creighton? That he wanted to he wanted to jump in like freezing cold ice water.
I don't. If you're a player and you hear your coach say that, you are basically saying to yourself, "Well, f him."
Yeah.
I get what he's trying to do, but you cannot say that
Yep.
because that does not help. Because can you imagine how awkward practice was today?
Yep.
I would have loved to sit in on that because that must have been a wreck. Because he was probably, I mean, if they even had practice today, he probably didn't want to show up and see him
Yeah.
today. So he probably had today off. So God only knows what happened. But yeah, that was bad. But I saw it coming. This team is not good. They were leading at halftime, I think, and then they just blew it. So
Yeah. There's been a couple games of late, like
yeah,
the FAU. Well, FAU came back, but
yep,
a couple games of late where there's been some big leads and teams have come back.
yeah, yep, yeah. So Rick Pitino, I mean, if you want to look at it this way, you've probably got about 3.5 weeks till you guys lose in the conference tournament. So you just got to stick it out until then. That's all I can really tell them.
Let's see. They are St. John's is
14-13.
7-11 in the
Yeah,
first two quads.
yeah, yeah. No, they have to run the table. If like they have to win the whole, they have to pull what a Georgetown did a couple years ago
Yeah.
to make the tournament. And no one can. I don't think anyone can believe that Georgetown was a tournament team that year. But you have to. That's what they have to do. If not, packing, not even get an NIT berth. So should have stayed at Iona
Yeah. What is
because
this?
all the guys who transferred are doing great. Walter Clayton is killing it at Florida. Junior Joseph is doing well at New Mexico. All those guys are killing, except him. Well, actually, he's killing his soul, so I guess everybody's killing, but depends on a matter of perspective. So, is that all you want to say on St. John's? Because I just would like to take a moment to tell you how happy I am that Purdue's finally out of the top 25. I don't have to hear any of this nonsense about how they're potential Cinderellas again because they have a harder schedule.
FAU?
Yes, we're rewarding them for their losses. No.
FAU. Who did this lose to? South Florida?
Yep. And South Florida's a good team. South
Yeah.
Florida's going to make the tournament this year. But still, I'm happy that FAU lost. Anna's out of the top 25. I don't have to hear any of that nonsense. Oh, they're going to be a Cinderella because they played a harder schedule. You know how many teams have played a hard schedule, but we're not talking about being Cinderellas? So let's stop rewarding people.
FAU is kind of their backload at the end of the season, so FAU probably thought this was a good thing. They finished with Memphis twice, 2 times in the last 4 games. But Memphis is just like falling off the face of the earth.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be interesting for Memphis, too, because Memphis is another one that's got to move up on the bubble. Yeah, they've got North Texas, Memphis, Tulane, Memphis, and SMU. I mean,
And
yeah,
Memphis
I
is
mean,
really just like playing for Penny's job.
yeah, what's Memphis? Memphis just lost to
They lost to
SMU by
I think. Yeah.
20 7 points, lost to North Texas by
Yeah,
10.
Memphis is 18-9. They're another team that went from like ranked in the top 10 to just
Memphis was, I think, 10th. I think Memphis was 10 at one point.
yeah. I don't know if they really
Now,
have been. I feel like they beat someone decent in the beginning of the season. They beat Clemson. They did beat Virginia. Like Virginia was just so bad in the beginning of the year.
they have an Arkansas, but nobody cares about that, even though Arkansas was ranked. They beat
Right.
A&M, Clemson, Virginia. I mean, that, like, so theoretically, if you are Memphis, you have to go 5-0 to get to 23-9, and then you have to at least make it to the semifinals of the tournament, because right now they are so the first four out is teams 65 through 69, and then the next four out are teams 70 through 74. So right now Memphis was 74 going into the weekend. So I don't even know if they're on the bubble.
Yeah, because if Memphis can go on a run, FAU is still good enough that
Yes, it's
Memphis
that it's a
beating them
quad one.
twice. Yes.
Yes, it's still a
And if
quad
they
one
can,
opportunity.
yeah, if they blow out either like because I think UAB is decent.
Hmm.
If they blew out like a UAB who, where's UAB at?
But
I mean UAB, yeah, UAB is decent. So if they were to blow out UAB and beat
and then beat
FAU
FAU
twice,
twice.
yeah,
Yes, but
then
they
they potentially could lose in maybe like the semifinals or finals of the
yeah.
conference tournament and have a chance to get in.
So they have to go 5-0. There's no more room for a loss. And then, like you said, they have to go to the semifinals. Your 10th loss has to be in the semifinals
Yeah,
of the conference tournament, or else I think if you're Memphis, then that it's so long. Welcome to the NIT, because
yeah,
this. I mean, there's just not enough games in that conference where they can catch up. It's not like they're playing a Kansas and Baylor back to back every week where they can
yeah,
lose 13 to 16 games and still be in. So it's interesting because those are the two teams that everybody was saying Final Four contenders at the beginning of the year, and now it just hasn't happened.
yeah. I don't remember if there's any other big result. I mean, Washington State is
Yep.
definitely a big surprise on the season.
Yes. 11-4 in conference.
Um, yeah, you got UVA, Virginia Tech tonight, Kansas State, Texas.
Houston, Iowa State. That's going to be a good one in Houston. That will definitely be good. I'm trying to think throughout the course of the week. What do we got tomorrow?
So
UConn
I'd say
Creighton.
my thing over the weekend, because you had asked me about the weekend, I went off the UNC thing. Um, I
Mm-hmm.
think South Carolina, was sort of everyone's darling for a little bit, and I want to say they went
Mm.
0-2 this week,
Yep.
to Auburn and LSU.
Yep. You are correct. Uh
Um,
huh.
I thought the way that Kentucky handled Auburn,
Yes.
I was kind of
That was
excited
what
for
I
that
was going
game
to
to
say.
finish
Yep.
scoring. Yeah, so Kentucky kind of rebounded pretty well. Um, Dayton still kind of doing their stuff. Wisconsin's lost to Iowa. That just kind of confirmed. But I guess Virginia. So Virginia has all those bad losses in the beginning of the season, but they're 20-6
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had a couple games
Yep.
where it's been very Virginia basketball. Just really, really low
Mm-hmm.
scoring. It makes me,
Yes.
as a Duke fan, it makes me a little worried about our match with them. Although the game is at
Mm-hmm.
Cameron, so I feel a little okay with that. But
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't give me a ton of hope for uh their NCAA hopes. Like I just
Yep.
don't think this team is good enough to uh just get far. Like they might trip up
Yeah.
somebody with their defense, but the problem is like it,
Hmm.
I sometimes I feel like the if you end up playing, although maybe Virginia's bad enough, it might not be an issue. But I feel like if you play a mid-major team, if you play like a 12 to like 14 seed, usually like
Hmm.
their fundamentals are so good and they can shoot the ball so well
Yeah.
that it like they just it kind of goes back to what my issue I had with Coach K. Like those
Hmm.
teams actually have an offense. I think some of
Yeah.
these high level D1 teams that are just running through teams, they do it off of talent, and they just
Hmm.
they do the dribble handoff at the top of the key, and then somebody
Yep.
eventually drives into the lane, and they see what happens. When you go against these
Hmm.
teams that like actually run like specific schemes and stuff,
Yeah.
it it's hard. Like that's why we were watching. I watched a little bit of Princeton Yale. I think I turned on Princeton
Yeah.
Yale, and the very first thing I saw was a backdoor cut.
Yeah.
And I was like, how Ivy League is that? But like
Yeah.
teams can't stop it.
Yeah. I guess if you're in Virginia's case, right, it's tough if you're picking them because you're depending on two things. You're depending on the first thing is whoever they're playing, can their defense limit who they're playing to under 60 points. The second thing you're also going to bank on is, can Virginia score enough to keep up? Because if Virginia can't score, then their defense starts to fall apart
Yep.
because the other team just runs them off the floor. Because if they go on a 7 minute scoring drought,
Hmm.
you know, you can defend all you want, but if you don't score for 7 minutes, it's going to be very tough to win that game. So I think it's interesting.
They beat Wake. They went. I think I saw they went 1 for 9 or 1 for 10 from the free throw
Yeah,
line
that's,
in that
yeah.
Wake
And
game.
they still, yeah. Yep. 49-47 they won. Yeah. That was an ugly free throw shooting thing, free throw shooting clinic. Here's what I'm going to say Nebraska, they're in the tournament right now. In Big Ten play, they are 8-0 at home, and they are 0-7 on the road. So on a neutral site,
Yep.
away from Nebraska, are you picking them to win a tournament game?
No. No.
Knowing,
I'm not in on
hearing what you
Nebraska.
just heard,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that stat when I saw it.
I tell you,
0-7 on the road.
the team that probably, speaking of the Big 12, the team that, see if their actual records now, that we had mentioned earlier, that I want to say I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a run, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised to see them get knocked out early either, is Northwestern.
Yep.
I
Are you still on the Boo Booey train?
you know, I, I'm on Boo Boo's train. Um, I like Chris Collins,
Okay.
because I went to Duke, and like I'll go through the. So if you look at the current, if you look at the current top 25, the AP top 25 right now,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
you tell me which team is. So let's break down. Look at the top 10. Like
Okay.
which team in the top 10 you think is most likely to lose in the first weekend?
Okay. That's interesting. Top 10 to lose the first weekend. Um,
I'm fearful of what the answer is, but
are you asking me if it's Duke? Because Duke would not be first on my list, if that's what you're asking.
who's
I've
first on
got
your list?
my eye. Um, Top 10. I've got my eye on Marquette. I've got my eye on Tennessee. And I've got my eye on Iowa State. Purdue would come in fourth, depending on Purdue is dependent on who they play. But my number one is Marquette to lose in the first round. Even if they're a 2 seed, if they're matched up against a 15 seed, like I'm beyond the point where I'm locking in a 1 and a 2 seed now. I'm beyond that point. I realized that last year.
Yep.
You may think, wow, it took you until that long to realize, but Marquette I could see getting upset.
And
Easily.
Iowa State's
I can see Tennessee too.
Yeah, Iowa State's another team that's really good at home.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's like you're not at home. This is one game. You're at a neutral site. You never know what can happen.
Yeah. And I think what I think is tough for, I guess it depends on where the location is, but I think what is tough for Purdue and what's really tough for Duke and probably Kansas more than UNC, I would say, is when you get in these tight games and the fans of the teams who played before or are playing after you stick around and they want to see you lose. And it turns almost into a road game.
Yeah. Especially if you're a number 1 seed, not at home.
Yep.
That's what it turns into. I mean, right now, the bracket will be updated tomorrow, but as of Friday, Purdue would be playing the winner of Merrimack NC Central first four. FDU was in the first four last year, and they beat Purdue. Yep. So, could see that again. Right now, Purdue, if they won, would be matched up against Texas, the winner of Texas or Texas A&M. But we are trash, so it will probably be Texas.
I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't know.
I
didn't know we were going to talk about it.
I don't either. I'm just going to say that we are trash, and maybe if we win this week, I will talk about it. But we are trash. That's all I have to say. We suck. Vanderbilt, that's low. That's terrible.
I was ready to jump on the A&M train after last week's podcast.
Got wiped off the floor by Alabama. I mean, geez, we're probably like the last team in now because we suck. Anyway, moving on. Indiana State. They lost twice this week.
Yeah.
That was a short-lived week in the top 25.
Yep, they couldn't take it.
They couldn't take the pressure. They lost. So, no Cinderella for them this year. Let's get somebody to Colgate to beat Tennessee, or Oakland to beat Marquette. Let's get that going.
I remember Oakland getting some upsets back in the day.
Well, it's funny. Last year on Selection Sunday, when they showed the Princeton Arizona game, Megan was like, "Oh, I'm going to pick Princeton," and then I said, "No, you cannot do that. That will never happen." And look at how that happened. So, you know what? Let's get something going there.
One more top 25 question for you. Look at the others receiving votes category.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of those teams is most likely to make it through the first weekend?
I am going to say, here's my top 5 that could make it to the first weekend. I'm going to say Michigan State. I'm going to say South Florida. Interesting one, but I'm going to say South Florida. And I think TCU could make it out of the first weekend.
Yeah.
Those are my 3 that I'd have most confident in.
Yeah, I like Michigan State. I don't know if I wouldn't say I'm confident. I'm
interested
in Grand Canyon.
Okay. Oh yes, yep. Grand Canyon. It depends too. Yep.
Yeah, that's gonna be like a matchup thing.
Yep.
But I like Michigan State. If things keep rolling, I like Pitt. Simply because Blake Henson is playing really well right now.
Mm-hmm.
He just had
Yep.
40 the other day. He played really
Yep.
well against Duke, and I think you need he. I don't like him. I'm not a fan, but I think to go far, you need a good player. But I think you need a player that thinks he is the best person on that court, even if he's not.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to someone the other day about how Caleb Love thinks that. But the issue with
Yep.
Caleb Love is when he played for UNC, he had other guys that were probably better than him, or at least as good. And so thinking that
Mm-hmm.
you're the best just messed everything up. But Blake Henson is
Yeah.
the best on his team. And so him
Yeah.
thinking that he's the best player on the court is probably only going to help his team.
Yep. I think it's so. You talk about Grand Canyon. They're 24-2. They have a net of. It's right here. I'm looking at it too, but now I can't. Oh, 48. They have a net of 48. They're 24-2. They've only lost to South Carolina, and they had a loss to Seattle U,
Yeah.
which isn't ideal. But if they
They
win
beat San Diego
their
State.
last, yeah, if they win their last five, they go 29-2, and then I don't know. I don't even know how many games are in the WAC tournament. Let's look that up right now. WAC tournament 2024 Hercules Tire WAC tournament.
Is their
Let's look at the
coach
schedule.
still um the guy from Vanderbilt?
I think so.
Bryce. What's his last name?
Bryce Drew.
Drew, yeah.
Bryce Drew. So say Grand Canyon makes it to the finals of their tournament, but they lose, and they're 31-3. Right now, they're projected to be an 11 seed. Are you throwing them in the tournament? Are you throwing them in the tournament?
Am I? Yes. Is the committee? No. I know. I think committee leaves them out. I guess it depends on. So, where are they? They're in the WAC.
Yep.
So, if you
So
look at the WAC,
so the right now the only threats to them are right now Tarleton State and Seattle U. That's it.
come on.
That's it. Those are the only threats.
Well, I can't see that. What is? It's not working when I click on it. What's Tarleton State's record?
18-7, 11-3 in the league.
Because I'm trying to think.
But Grand Canyon plays Tarleton State. Let's see, the 24th. So Saturday. No, sorry, the 22nd, Thursday. Actually, may watch that game now.
I'm trying to see what Tarleton State's in this year.
And right now, Grand Canyon would be projected to be matched up against South Carolina as an 11 seed.
And they only lost to South Carolina by like 7 or something like that earlier in the season.
7. Yep.
Um,
It's interesting to think.
yeah, I don't think there's any way the committee puts them in if they lose.
You don't think so?
No, I just don't think I don't think they've played enough teams. I mean, that's San Diego. I mean, the San Diego State wins good, right? Because I mean, San Diego State, the committee said
Yeah.
that they're a 4 seed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things, right? Where this is weird about the committee. If they win, if they win out,
Mm-hmm.
they're probably like 11 or 12 seed, like you were saying, right? But if they lose one game, that gets my, like they go from being like an automatic qualifier who is pretty good, right? Because if you're a bad automatic qualifier, you're 15 or 16. So if they get the automatic qualifying bid and they're 11 or 12, that's saying they're pretty legitimate. And you go from like a pretty legitimate team to just not making the tournament at all. But I think I would say, I don't even know if I'd put them in anyways, but I would say if they didn't have that Seattle loss and then they lost, because now you're saying, okay, you haven't played a lot of teams, but you played South Carolina close and you beat San Diego State. So you're 1-1 in the games that mattered.
Yeah, or if you're vice versa, if you get the South Carolina win but still have the Seattle loss,
Yep.
does that put you in at 33-2? Now
Probably.
that you have now that you are 2-1 in quad one against two top 6 seeds in the
I
tournament.
think so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, it's interesting. I might have to watch that Grand Canyon game now.
Should we? So we talked about having a pick special. Should we? That's I don't know if I have the time to do this, but I feel like we should do something with a bracket prediction type thing. I can't predict all 65 teams or how many teams get in now.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if we should maybe we should do our own bracket. Let's maybe we should try to predict like the top 4 seeds in each region, like the committee just did,
Okay.
and see
Okay.
how close we are to that.
Okay. You're talking about like the week
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Because then the day after selection Sunday, we have our bracket
Yeah,
show where we fill out our own.
because you figure not much is going to change, right? Like if you look at
Yeah.
like Purdue, I mean, is probably like Purdue, UConn, maybe even I'd probably actually more Arizona than Houston. If Arizona doesn't mess up, then UConn,
Mm-hmm.
Purdue, Arizona are probably going to stay 1 seeds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Houston should, but they're the ones that's most likely to drop out just because of competition they have to play.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then San Diego State, if they can just keep playing well, they should stay
Mm-hmm.
in that talk.
Yep.
Baylor, like I don't see a lot. So I guess minus. So looking at the top 16 seeds,
Mm-hmm.
besides Wisconsin, who is your
Yep.
pick to fall out of that completely? Like on Selection Sunday, not be a top 4 seed anymore.
Based off of this week's rankings.
Yeah, based on what the committee picked. So right now you've got Purdue, Tennessee, Baylor, San Diego State, UConn, UNC, Iowa State, Wisconsin, Houston, Marquette, Alabama, Illinois, Arizona, Kansas, Duke, Auburn. Who's going to have the biggest fall besides Wisconsin?
I'm gonna say Auburn.
Auburn was my second pick. I still am thinking that Illinois is going to fall apart at some point.
Yeah. Yep, I could see that. I picked Auburn because they have Tennessee and Mississippi State left, and they only have Georgia, Missouri. They have Georgia twice in Missouri, and they have Mississippi State, Tennessee, and then they have that SEC tournament. I got also see Illinois, also like you said, falling apart too.
Yeah.
They were actually my second one because I didn't want to go Wisconsin because
Yeah.
that was kind of talked about at the beginning. So I guess I want to be a little different, but that's who I'd go with. I'd go with Auburn or Illinois.
Let me before we do a quick preview of the week ahead, let me ask you one more question
Mm-hmm.
about UConn.
Okay.
As a Duke fan,
Mm-hmm.
man, I don't want to play them.
That's an easy answer. No, you
No,
don't. That's the easiest question. No, you
yeah,
don't.
I don't want to play Klingon.
That's
That
easy.
guy, he's big.
You don't want to play that whole team. Just don't even like. Clayton's only a part of it.
I mean, I want to play Danny Hurley.
To get smoked.
I want Jared McCain to score 40 points on Danny Hurley and then walk over to him and go with his painted nails.
That's not going to happen.
You know why?
That
Because
is
Danny
not
Hurley
going
would
to
try to
happen.
kill him afterwards. Because that guy's psycho.
He would. And we're going to be doing this after Donovan Clingan dunks on Kyle Filipowski. So
no, Filipowski, he is so weak that he wouldn't even stand there. He probably would run away from it. So
yeah. I guess I'd probably run away too if Donovan Clingan were going to dunk on me. So
are they is how, okay? How do you beat UConn?
How do you beat UConn? My easy answer would to say let's call up Seton Hall and ask, but we can't do that. So I guess a little bit of luck. You got to get clean in foul trouble. You have to. I mean, there's. It's so hard because they have so many guys who can score on you. You have to take away the 3-point line. You have to get Klingon in foul trouble. You have to play. You have to match UConn's physicality.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
Like, if you can't match UConn's physicality, forget about winning that game.
Yeah,
You're not going to get lucky and beat UConn. You have to take it to them, or else they're going to take it to you. So you got to take away the 3-point line. You got to play physically. You got to get Klingon in foul trouble. And I think you got to have a veteran team that has been there before
yeah,
against those teams and can match up against them.
yeah. So a I mean, you would have thought that was like a Marquette, right? Marquette with their solid defense.
Yeah, everybody's hyping up Marquette, and look at what happened. So
So you're
forget it.
thinking maybe out of like these top 16, probably Tennessee or Houston, right? Those maybe
What do
be
you
kind
mean?
of in terms of teams that sort of fit the bill of what you're talking about.
That lose?
No, like to play UConn as kind of a physical, experienced team.
Yeah, I'd say I think Kansas could match up well with them because they're an experienced veteran team. They have guys who have been there. I'd say Kansas. I'm looking at the rankings right now. Kansas, Houston. If they made it that far, I guess Tennessee.
Yeah,
I just think UConn will roll through a lot of teams until you hit about that Elite Eight time, and then at that point it's just sheer will. I guess we'll see. UConn's going on the road against Creighton tomorrow, so they
okay.
only have Creighton and Villanova left. That's it. So that'll be that'll be interesting. I mean, they smacked Marquette, they smacked DePaul, and they smacked Georgetown. So it's not like any of those games have been close. So it should be interesting.
All right. Um,
What is up on your week ahead? What are you looking forward to?
um, let me pull things up here. I am looking forward to um
Give me your top three games. Top three games of the week.
well Duke Miami, Duke Wake.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think I'm a little worried about that Duke Miami game. Um,
Uh huh.
but um, yeah, I mean, I think Houston Iowa State. I think Houston's gonna win that. I don't. I think
Mm-hmm.
Houston's gonna win that by over 5 points. Probably not like 10 to 12, but I think Houston's gonna win
Mm-hmm.
fairly comfortably with it being in Houston. I think if it was in Iowa
Houston.
State, it'd be
Okay.
a little different story. But
Different story.
um,
Okay.
yeah, I think you got to say unless things go like they did this weekend, number one has to be, or one of the top ones has to be UConn
I know.
Creighton.
You would think.
So let me go through real quick here. We got Utah, UConn. Now, why this computer is spazzing on me here? Um, UConn, um, UConn Creighton.
Okay.
We said it last.
Looking at that. Yeah.
What is a game of the week that I'm not going to watch? Mainly because I just realized the other day I don't have this channel. San Diego State,
Uh huh.
Utah State,
Oh,
21 to
here's the game of the
5.
week. I'm not gonna watch. Yep.
Yeah, that's a. So okay, so I'll start with I'll go UConn Creighton as probably as probably the game of maybe the regular season week if my
Okay.
computer went fast enough for me to uh, see what the other games were. You fill me in a little bit, and I'll what are you?
All right. Here's the game I'm not going to watch this week because it is way too late. Thursday night at 11 o'clock, we have Washington State, Arizona.
Okay. Oh yeah. Is that ESPN or is it Pac-12?
FS1.
Okay, I have Evis one. Um, Thursday.
That's late.
Maybe
Here's
maybe I'll watch that.
here is the game.
I will watch
Here's
that
what I
because
found so far.
I'm dedicated to the podcast, and someone has to report back about the
That's
Arizona.
yeah. You can stay up for the Pac. That's a good idea. You can stay up for the Pac-12 games. Let's see. I got Alabama, Kentucky on Saturday. I think that'll be a good one. What is it? Where is I just Tuesday tomorrow? Baylor, BYU, and then I'm going to go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna keep it at 2 tonight. Obviously, Memphis. No, what am I talking about? I was gonna go maybe Memphis FAU Sunday. That might be a good game, but I cannot because I just crapped all over FAU, so I can't do that. But I'm gonna go Houston, Iowa State tonight. Those are my 3 games. But again, we've got some good ones. We've got North Carolina, Virginia Saturday. That should be good. I guess I'll include Duke, Miami.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. So I think UConn Creighton does not get me
Yep.
excited, but it has to be on the list. And then
We've got Florida, Alabama Wednesday.
yeah, I think I'm gonna go. You're right. The top three's tough. There's some good basketball now. I think I'm gonna go.
Mhm.
Oh, I really like that Arizona Washington State thing you brought up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? I think that's got to be in my top three, even if I don't watch it.
Mm.
I think that UConn Creighton game, the Arizona Washington State, 'cause I think that's Arizona a projected number 1 seed, Washington State just
Yeah.
getting super hot, and they're kind of the new darling there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and then I'm gonna say I like the Baylor Houston one, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be just because of my ACC bias. I'm gonna say UNC Virginia. At Virginia, I'm
Okay.
really curious. Like North Carolina thrives on their offense. They
Yeah.
don't play defense really, but Virginia
Mm-hmm.
can't score,
Yeah.
and so it's a matter of like even if Virginia slows them down, can they slow
Mm-hmm.
UNC? Can they keep
Down
UNC under
enough.
50? I don't think they
Yeah.
can. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and can Virginia score 60 points?
Yeah. To keep up. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's very much a matchup, like a game of matchups between just two really
Mm-hmm.
different. Whereas Alabama, Kentucky,
Yeah.
I mean that should be really
Yep.
high. That's going to be like
Yeah. Oh.
100 to like 9.
Yeah. 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 Right. Alabama. See, Alabama. I guess we'll. I guess we're coming to a tail ends here. Alabama. I mean, they are dangerous because they can score.
Yep.
I'm just going to say that they are. They could easily make the Elite Eight just because they outscore teams.
Yeah, Alabama is if that I think that's going to be a telling thing. But Alabama can go into Kentucky and beat Kentucky. That
Mm-hmm.
says a lot about Alabama. Not too much about Kentucky, but it does. Kentucky kind of quieted the doubters a little bit,
Yeah.
but losing at home in an important game. I mean, it's not a bad loss, but it's an important game.
Yeah, but I mean, again, if you're Alabama too, if you can beat Kentucky and score 105 points, that says something too.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see a 50-60 Alabama win.
Yeah.
We want to see a 95-105 game. But
Here's
yeah,
a an
it'll be
interesting twist of a thing. I'm
okay.
I'm taking my wife somewhere this weekend,
Okay.
and uh Saturday we'll get back on Saturday, and so I'm thinking,
Okay.
do I DVR the Duke game, Duke Wake,
Yep.
which I've been doing a lot of, or
Mm-hmm.
do we go out for lunch at like a bar like a Dave and Buster's or something
Mm.
and
And
watch the
watch the
game, which
game.
I never do because
Mm.
it messes up my feng shui of like how I watch the game. But I'm like,
Your emotions, you got to be
I
set.
know, but I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, it could be fun. I can bring my wife into the experience of the game.
Yeah, but then if they lose, that's gonna be a quiet
It's
car
going to
ride
be a
home.
terrible for our relationship. Oh, Dylan, I might just have to come home.
I will give a shout out. Saturday, I'm going to the Princeton Dartmouth game.
Okay.
So like potentially be seeing a sleeper in Princeton. Shout out Mac, Dartmouth U, for hosting me.
A quick little update here, and then we'll get going.
Okay.
I forgot to look. I'm looking at it right now, but can you give
Mm-hmm.
our viewers an update on what happened in the Holy Cross Elms game? Speaking of Dartmouth.
Yeah, Holy Cross beat Elms. I want to say by 25.
Okay.
It wasn't actually as bad as everybody on the Elms team thought it was going to be. So
Here we go. Okay.
yeah,
88 to 60.
yes. So 28. Yeah,
All
yes.
right.
I did not play. I was hurt, but yes, 88 to 60 was better than a lot of people thought it was going to be.
Lots of still lots of minute distributions by
Yeah,
the Elms College head coach.
yeah. We won't get into that. There's some opinions
Uh,
on that.
and strangely enough, everyone's last name is capitalized except for Mr. Addison Pfeiffer. He's got a lowercase last name on ESPN.com.
That is, you're gonna have to talk to Holy Cross about that.
All right. So yeah, I think we could try to be back here Sunday. Oh, what? So
Okay,
are you staying over
sounds good.
at Dartmouth on Saturday?
No, I think I'm coming back Saturday because I think the game's only at
Okay.
6. I think I'm going up for the
Okay.
day, Saturday morning. So I will be back
So
Sunday
maybe like a Sunday night, like
night.
6 o'clock,
Yes,
7 o'clock kind of thing.
yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Recap a big week. Let's
Of college hoops.
we haven't done a big trivia thing in a while. So out of the top three games you were interested in, tell me your one that personally interests you the most.
Um, I'm gonna say Alabama, Kentucky stood out to me the most. I'm also gonna make a fourth edition honorary mention. I'm gonna go in Grand Canyon, Tarleton State
Yep.
on
Yep.
Thursday night. That's my honorary mention.
Probably
But to
can't
get
watch
back to
that
it,
one.
I'm gonna say Alabama, Kentucky.
So we
What?
probably can't watch that one.
That's ESP.
Is
That's
ESPN?
ESPN Plus.
Okay.
I'll report. ESPN Plus. I'll report. I'll
Okay.
report.
All right. So
You got the Washington State one.
let me write down here then. Um, give me your prediction for the Alabama Kentucky game.
Okay. Um, Contrary to what I said, I'm going Kentucky at home, 92 to 99. That's what I'm going.
So you said you got Kentucky
Kentucky at home. They're going to
99
defend their
92.
home court, 92
Okay.
99. Yep.
And I'll go with
Yes.
I
You're going to go
like
Duke Wake.
no, I'll predict I'll predict Houston Baylor.
Okay.
Or no, I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna go Arizona Washington State. Where
Okay.
was that at? Was it at Arizona?
At Arizona. At
All right,
Arizona.
Arizona, Washington State. Arizona's a pretty effective scoring team too. Um, I'm
Yep.
gonna go 80. You know what? I'm gonna go risky here. I'm gonna go Arizona 93, Washington
Mm,
88 in overtime.
okay. Wow. Okay. And so if it goes in overtime, you'll have a bunch of people calling you wondering what's going
Yep.
on.
All right. All right. Well, to our new viewers, thank you for checking in, and we'll be back next weekend.